Now, your mama and my mama said not to play with knives, but that's exactly what I'm going to do today. So the blade I'm using today is the LT Wright Genesis. I've had this blade for, golly, ever since LT Wright Handcrafted Knives, for the most part, was started. It's a fantastic blade. I carried it for years before I designed the Chamonix and started utilizing it. But I love going to this because it's an extension of me at this point. I love this blade. So let's do that. Let's utilize this for our practice today. So these are dogwood pieces that I utilized. I cut a piece out of this yesterday to use as a spacer and an axe when I was hanging an axe head. So dogwood, if you're not familiar, is an incredibly dense, hard wood. But these are cut so small, this will be rather easily. But I want to show you, the traditional method is just a baton through to get the pieces you want, whether you want to make a pin or you want to make something else. Another way is to get your blade in there and just get it started, and then drive the piece through the blade itself. That way, with a lot of support, it doesn't put as much stress on the blade itself, and when you're doing batoning, so that helps a lot. So now we got a couple of pieces here of dogwood that we can utilize for pins. We could continue to scrape these on down to make them smaller, whatever size we need to get these to. Now, as we're doing this, one of the things I always like to point out when we're doing any sort of batoning or cutting of wood, chopping of wood, putting a mallet through it or whatever, is you always want to look for cracks in the wood so that that's where I'm going to start. So if I need a piece of this size, then I can start in the crack, because think of it this way. Think of the wood wants to crack there already. So why don't we let it crack there already? Meaning we put it in the place where it wants to crack and just let it do its work. Now, as we're looking at something like this, we've got this crack that goes all the way through the center. Let's say that we wanted a piece that came all the way across there. We're not going to get that, okay, because this is going to split. We could continue to cut some more thick cookies like this. But the reason I like to point that out is that if we're going to make a splice that we put in an axe head, for example, we want it to run with the grain, okay? When you see the grain of a wood, we want that pattern to not go against it. We want to go with that grain. Think of it this way. If this is a tree, and this used to be a tree that I made a mallet out of, then the strength of this tree is weaker going this direction than it is going straight down this direction. So that's why if I can utilize the strength of the tree the way it was designed, the way it grows, then I'll play to its strengths rather than its weaknesses. That plays out in the rings of a tree. So when you're cutting your spacers, you need to pay attention to that. Now, let's take this over to the tree vise, and I'll show you something else we can do with this. So let's say that I want to debark this piece of dogwood that I used for another project. This is a dead dogwood that got knocked down by a chestnut oak last year. So my tree vise, if you've never seen one of these, this is a white oak that got knocked down by the Virginia pine that you see laying around here in a storm. So I cut it off. I cut a split in it. Now what I can do is I can take my piece that I'm going to work on, drive it down into the tree vise. Now I'm going to create a windlass right here with another piece. And I'm basically using my cordage to create the tightening of the vise effect that I need. So it's going to hold my piece for me. Now, let me get my Genesis and I'll show you how to use it. So now I'm basically going to create a draw knife. So I take a piece. This is another piece that I had from some trail maintenance that I was utilizing for different pieces. Take my Genesis and drive it down into a piece like this that you now have two handles for. So I have my handle here, and now I have a handle here that I can utilize as a draw knife. So let's take it back over the project area. This is real unorthodox, isn't it? And I think this is that poplar or maple? Yeah, definitely maple. So now I have two handles to work this piece, especially through those little knots, to make short work of skinning something as hard as this dogwood. So another one is to do a reverse grip. There's several different grips here, okay? So you have your normal grip, 90-degree grip. You can have a canted grip. You can have a pinch grip. This is how you drill holes and protect the tip of the blade. Okay, you can actually have a complete reverse grip. This is used in a lot of fighting maneuvers, stuff of that nature. That's not what we're here to talk about today. But we're going to use a grip like that to do the next exercise, which is drive your tip, not much, just enough to stabilize it. And then you can debark or create feather sticks, whatever you need to do from this position. The advantage of doing this is that typically we might be working like this, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's actually really good. But really, I'm holding this and I'm working here, and these muscles will get tired. So, for example, I just got done writing my 8th book where I was doing stuff like this for 6-8 hours a day, right? So I get tired. You're going to get tired if you're going to do it that much. So switch it up, do something different, where you're using different muscle groups, stabilizing some portions of the blade so you're not using as many muscles. And quite frankly, this has become my preferred method for creating stuff of this nature. Now, this is coming off real easy because it's green, but you can do this with dried wood as well to create feather sticks. So that is 1, the way we did this where we were driving the blade upside down. 2, where we're utilizing it as a draw knife. And then 3, where we were using a reverse grip to create feather sticks, which are ways that your mom and my mom probably would have said, don't do that. But they work exceptionally well, particularly when you got a great blade like the LT Wright Genesis. Not a queen, you all. This is dirty, a lot of scratches, been used a lot, got a lot of Craig stuff on it. Fantastic blade. Come on, join in. Let's learn together.